it's not guaranteed
Okay.
that you'll get. If someone has had a mental illness previously, being pregnant can also increase chances of a relapse. That's because of the hormonal changes that are occurring within the system, which can cause, can trigger a mental illness during that time. Other things can also do with the social space, things to do with alcohol and drugs after delivery. And it sounds far-fetched, like, oh, a pregnant woman, or someone who just delivered, would they be taking alcohol? Yes, it does happen.
Okay.
Some do. So that could also be a triggering factor. Social support as well. We've had a lot of cases of kuruka mimba. Yes, so that could be a very significant,
very common
social
actually,
stressor for a lot of women, especially if the father has, to the child, has neglected their role and has decided they don't want to be part of the family. That could be a significant stressor. Other stressors, common, maybe loss of the job, or now if you're working as a contract, on a contract basis, and you're working on you're paid when you work. So you see now, when you're in this space, you can't work. So you need to know how would you still cater for your child? How do you still cater for the normal needs, especially if there's no one else offering you support? So social support also goes a very long way, in addition to the biological factors, the genetics and whatnot.
And this is very important, so someone is able to now check what then could be their trigger. You want to add something?
Yeah, and also, you know, people think postpartum mental illness only occurs in your first baby, you know. You could be having the illness or the signs would come after, like maybe baby number 3 or baby number 4. Yeah, you know, people go like, number 1 is the hardest. You know? By the time you're like number 3, you should get used to it. It's a lie. Every baby comes with different things, different expectations, and at different times. For example, so you can find maybe a lady, maybe she was married before, and maybe they separated, she got pregnant. Either the same person or somebody else. So she's in a very different space at that point. Then even the family has now maybe refused, or a child is maybe you are sent to university, and then you call home and you're like, other than the normal degree, it looks like I'll be having another degree, you know. And then now nobody else, people like don't support you. And at the end of the day, I usually say, once the mother is pregnant and they are here, this is the baby is coming, I think let's just support this person. Look at them, let's help them so that we can at least reduce the risk factors of this person getting a mental illness.
And that is standing out. Before we come back to you, Linda, I want to hear from Dr. Gakuo, you know, because people are now checking. The checklist is very vivid now. This could be it. This is what probably led you here. But most of us could be in denial unless we can really tell what the symptoms are likely to look like. So maybe you can walk us through the symptoms and then we can come to Dr. Linda.
So I think with the symptoms, when you're thinking about the symptoms, it's for mood problems, many times it's what we go through and then at a significantly higher level. So around pregnancy, especially, she said not necessarily for first-time moms, but especially for first-time moms. But even for anyone, pregnancy is a tough time.
Yes.
Either way, it's a difficult time. As she said, there could be a lot of stressors occurring around that time. So mood changes are expected, again, depending on how labor was, the delivery process, how long it took to leave the hospital, if there are complications, what is the outcome for the child.
Yes.
There are different levels of stress that could be going on in the different moods. But when it's a bit heightened, then we begin to see maybe a mom who's been home for about a week after leaving the hospital, very tearful, very emotional, what we call lability. There's a lot of emotional change. She's like this, then she's on the other extreme like that. She's very irritable, probably. The child could be making her irritable, but you know, things like those problems with sleep, maybe she's very anxious about the child. So we call that blues, which occurs in quite a number of cases. They say actually over 80% it happens. But what we are really looking at when you talk about illness now, mental illness, is we are looking now when it is extreme. So when you are looking at signs of depression, you're looking at problems that come with an excessively low mood.
Excessively low?
Excessively low mood,
Okay.
which is very out of character with this individual. Excessively low cannot be missed, right? Then the mother is not taking interest in things that she should be taking interest in. Of course, the most important at that time is the child. So you might find there's totally no interest in the child, neglecting the child, not giving attention, things like those. So those should make people, make especially the husband or the partner, a bit curious.
Okay.
Then you start having problems with sleep. So obviously when a child comes, I think people don't sleep, but...
Yeah, because they need to know the difference. I know most of them are saying, what do you mean sleep? Because I don't know, Dr. Makau has actually agreed sleep might be a problem.
Sleep is a myth.
It's a myth.
Yeah.
So you're saying?
Yes, the child might make you tired, but what about when you're supposed to
Sleep.
get a few minutes of rest, you're not able to.
All right.
So you're totally unable to get rest. Or maybe you're getting too much rest.
Too much
Rest, making it impossible for you to have time to take care of the child because the child is fully dependent on you, right? Yeah, then problems with feeding, feeling very guilty about the situation,
All right.
feeling very tired, unable to do anything. So you might find mom is just in bed all day long. She's not doing anything. You know, there are things that she's supposed to do.
Okay.
But she's not doing any of them. And she has no interest in doing any of them.
Has no interest.
Has no interest. Self-care might be lost.
Might be lost.
So no bathing, no sense of hygiene. And this is for her and for the child.
All right. And
Yeah.
I like that you brought that this is for her and the child.
the
They're
child.
pretty much almost inseparable at this point in
Yes,
time.
yes.
We'll be going deeper into how this affects the child and the people around her. But before that, let's talk about how long the symptoms could last. You could add.
Just to add,
Yes.
So in addition to what he said, we now have the ones now who are on the extreme opposite. So you'll find out a lady, what we call postpartum psychosis.
Okay.
There's someone now who will be also very neglectful of the child, but they are extremely hyper, they are talkative, they are everywhere else other than the space where they need to be. For some, they even have hallucinations where they are seeing things, or rather perceiving things which are not in real-time space. Then they also, for some, they can have hallucinations where they're hearing sounds or hearing voices, to the point where we've had cases where some of those voices tell the mother to harm the child. Some have
I think we highlighted some of these stories in media as well. Okay.
Some even go to the extent of killing the child, and so that's very the severe cases, but they can also be recognized early. Once you start noticing the change in behavior, the way we mentioned the last time, mental health is the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you behave. So when you notice the behavior is starting to change, she's asked to breastfeed, she's not interested in that. She'll walk about, she's here, she's there, she's all over the place. Her thinking, when you talk to her, it's not very logical, or rather you're talking about this, she's talking about something else. When it comes to her perception, you can tell maybe when you leave her alone, you find her laughing by herself, talking by herself.
Oh, this is psychosis.
Yes, this is now psychosis,
All
which is also common also.
It is also common, and I want to go back to Dr. Makau, because when we began, she said people need to know the difference and in the stages. And now we're looking at how long then the symptoms would last, because sometimes it's just, I'm just moody. Today I'm going to come to, she's mentioned that how common some of them are, and I'm going to be coming to you about one of the very questions on how common some of these, conditions are. But let's come back to Dr. Makau on how long these symptoms then could last.
So as you had mentioned even earlier, initially when you delivered, there is this expectation that you're supposed to breastfeed your baby immediately. We do that thing, like bond with your child.
But doctors literally do that. Once you have a baby, they bring it. The nurses say.
The nurses.
The nurses. Sorry.
Bond with your child. Breastfeed your child. So you already have taken. You've done this baby showers. You've taken yourself through what you're supposed to do to this baby. Then now the baby is here, and now we're on practicals, qua ground. Things are very different. So when you try and it's not working. So within the first week is when you're trying to adjust yourself from being this solo person, we call it single, like shingo moja, and you're walking, and then all of a sudden there's this thing that is just crying. You know, the babies when they're in the womb, they eat continuously when they don't even know what hunger is, right? So now here all of a sudden, he is hungry.
Yes.
So, and it's a new environment for this baby. The baby is just wailing. So you're there and you're thinking in your head, they're crying because they're hungry. So you try and feed. Maybe it's not working. You're trying to change their diaper. It's not working.
Yes.
So you get stressed. So just the adjustment from a normal to motherhood, the first week is usually very tough. Right? So that first week, many people go through the blues. So what happens? They cry.
Okay.
So it's a short-lived. That first week is very short-lived symptoms of mood lability. Either they cry, or they're too talkative, or they want to hold their baby, or they don't. They feel inadequate. They're overwhelmed. So that first week, the baby blues are very high, and that's why they said the first week, up to 80% of patients go through this.
Yes.
Once they talk about it, they're reassured, it's okay, it's a normal process, it ends.
Okay.
So that one, we are okay with it. It's a normal thing, it happens. You might be in the 20% who had a very good delivery and nothing came up. Then the second one that we're concerned about is postpartum depression, where now you have your mood goes low. Now that one, after that means either you had your first week of adjustment and it didn't go well, and then now your moods are just slowly going down, you're losing interest, you're not talking to people. So that usually might take some time to, be seen, to magnify itself. So that usually goes within 2 weeks post-delivery, but we can have patients who have the symptoms up to around 6 months, though now they're trying to cut off the break, but maybe you get from 0 to 6 months, somewhere there you can get some patients who are having symptoms that are associated with either depression now during post-delivery. Then now the psychosis that Doc was talking about, that the symptoms can last anytime, but because they're very severe, they're usually short-lived and the patient is brought to the facility. So you find now maybe everybody wakes up in the morning, the mother is walking on the street, the mother is talking too much, the mother wants to harm the kid. So those ones are usually short-lived. Like within a week, you find this patient has been brought to the facility. So the symptoms for the postpartum psychosis are short-lived. Why? Because action is taken. I mean, nobody will be seeing someone harming a kid and then you wait for 6 months. Absolutely. That will not work. So those ones are usually brought earlier. But the postpartum depression can actually, the symptoms last longer. And so maybe 2 weeks post-delivery, but they can occur anytime after the delivery of the mother, up to 6 weeks or up to 6 months.
All right, now that brings me to the management, because just because I'm going through this doesn't mean I'm on my own. Yes. I know that the extremes are taken to the facility, like you have mentioned, and now they get medication, but even what type of medication I want to understand. But let's talk about the one who can handle it. Not handle it per se, but they can stay at home. And there is some sort of managing, measures that we can put in place, maybe Dr. Gakuo. And then you can talk about the psychosis now, because the type of sample are very skeptical about having the new mom in that facility. So you can give us about that particular treatment in the facility. But now, the new mom, whose depression seems to be a little too persistent.
So actually, there's this, I think there might be this assumption, this is a very neglected area. Okay. And these things actually don't happen. But for the depression, for the blues, it's common and it'll pass. But for the depression, which could end up having severe effects on the child, it's actually quite common. So I say 15 in every 100 women. So you can imagine this is something that most people have no idea about.
Yes.
Nobody's talking about it. But 15 in every 100 women. 15 in every 100 women. I think every day in Kenya we have about 5,000 children being born every day. So if you do the math, that's a high number of potential women undergoing depression. Yeah, so I think that even for the management, the most important thing begins with the identification. So people need to begin to realize and accept that this thing is there. So it's something that they need to have a very keen eye for and notice. And I think we've tried to, between the three of us, really enumerate some of these symptoms, right? Yes. So that people can know this is how it looks like. then when you start thinking about now, how do you deal with this? Number one, the most important thing is reassurance. Reassurance. Because oftentimes the triggers are, social stressors. Okay. So support for the mom. So reassure her that this is not her fault. Mm-hmm. Because now, once the blame game, self-blame starts coming in, it's downhill from there. So you don't want that. So reassurance, then 2, she must be provided with social support. Now, I know it's very difficult, especially in our economic setup. Some of the things are not things that can control.
It's actually getting worse by the day. Even the news today, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. So it might be very difficult, but it's important for the people who are around her to really see how they can come in, how they can support her.
Yes.
And then even before delivery, because ladies always go for antenatal clinics, then it's also important that during this time that us as health workers take it upon ourselves to prepare the mothers for that, because we prepare them for a lot of other things. Okay. How the delivery process will go, how to take care of the child, but we don't prepare them for what if I develop this illness. It's not even spoken about. Right? So they need to be prepared so that they also know. So a lot of these tips will also come from there. Right. So at that time, when it happens, because as Dr. Makau said, it may take a long period of time. So you might be expecting something in the first month, nothing happens. But 2-3 months in, there's just these things and sometimes the mom is alone. So what happens? Because she's alone, she's not feeding the child properly for 2 months. Child is very malnourished, dehydrated. Children will die. The child will die, things like those. Okay. Yeah. So I'd really say there are a lot of other things you could say, but for me, from a public health standpoint, I think the most important is reassure the moms, and 2, the social support. All right. Yeah. Then 3, let the mom come to us.
All right, it's important. No, it is. And even counseling psychologists would say, well, you can always find family members to talk to, but sometimes you actually need professional help.
Yeah, come to us.
And the fact that you said come to us makes it easier. People sometimes are fearful of those offices and the court. So when you actually come to the level and say you can come to us, I think it's a really good call. You have really mentioned, how it would affect the child. So I don't know if I should just take it there and come back to psychosis treatment. Should I just look at how this affects a child because of our time? Dr. Makau, or you can start us off as well. Dr. Nyamute, you have been quiet.
Child. Oh, okay. So having a postpartum illness that goes undiagnosed and treated can have significant effects on the child. Research has been done and shown that for a lot of children whose mothers have depression, there's a high chance that they'll also develop depression at some point in their life. High chance again, we said risk factors. Okay. Yes, so there's a high chance that they'll also develop depression. This is also a child, as you said, if you're not, the mother is not feeding this child, of course now nutritional things come into play, and with any time we talk about nutrition, now we talk about immunity. Once the immunity is down, this child is susceptible to multiple diseases, from chest infections to gut infections to even skin issues, liver. So this is a child who, if not addressed early, as you said, can pass on. Now, of course, that will cause more trouble to the mother. So other than the physical effects, down the line, there can be also mental effects. We also have mental health for that
child
unit,
Okay.
People wonder what on earth this child does not have.
They cannot comprehend?
But this child has a brain. They are comprehending. But the time the child is learning, when I cry, they feed me, I'm satisfied. Okay. I stop crying. My diaper is, my nappy area is okay, it's dry, now I'm okay. They stop crying. They stop being, they have a brain. They have, a mental process. So it's also being neglected in that way also there's some development that's also occurring in that child's brain. It may not be overt or rather visible at that time, but it will definitely have some effects moving
So much
forward.
that we assume, and
Yeah.
quite eye-opening this conversation is, allow me to check social media, because Dr. Lindsay is all supportive. Thank you very much. Saying Dr. Lindsay says good job to the psychiatry trio, very educative. And adding that very eloquent Dr. Mwikali Makau, you are a natural teacher in matters mental health. Yeah, you want to add something on the effect it might have on the child, and then we can come back to the extremes, because that is where you receive in separation from the child. You know, so because of the few minutes we have, you might be shocked we only have 3 minutes to close this.
Wow.
Yes.
So just, I want to give a big one example. For example, you know, like a kid who, as she said, children, when they cry, they're crying for attention. It's like they're talking to you, right? That's their means of communication. So a child who is safe will know that when I cry, something good is going to happen. They'll listen to me and then they'll stop. So something came up with kids. It was a study done in the States about children who are raised in foster care.
Yes.
And not the nice ones. You know, like there's the normal where at least they have better care. But now the ones who don't have good care, they didn't cry. They didn't have tears. Because why? They were so neglected. Same thing that can happen with a mother. Because a kid knows that this person is supposed to be my anchor, they're supposed to listen to me, but now they could not cry because why? Why should I cry? No one's going to listen. So this child already feels neglected, and it will affect the adult that this person is going to be. So as much as maybe you might say, you know, that lady is really like that. Now, if you're giving up on the woman, you don't give up on this child. Because at the end of the day, this kid will end up growing up as an unbalanced human, an adult.
Yes.
And you don't, you know, the bonding is an issue. And also, why should you separate? Let them not bond on their own. You know, give them the correct environment to bond. So if you find, as you're saying, social support, how does it come in different ways? Even for you to notice that something is wrong, you must be present.
You have to be present
to notice, and then now after be present to help the person or the mother go through this process.
And I like when you say be present to help, and I'm sorry to put it on him because he's a man, but there's a question of how the spouse. I know there's the community aspect, no problem.
The most important thing, what she was really trying to bring out is the importance of having the healthy mom present there for the child, because a healthy child in childhood and a healthy child in adulthood are dependent on the relationship that the mom and the child have in those infant years, like the first year, the first months, the first days, very important. So the best thing that the man can do is provide an environment that fosters that. So one, we need to enable the mom to remain healthy. So the most important thing for the man, I think, aside from the provision, is to be present, to notice, and that's why this show is actually very important for the men, even probably for the women, because the men are the ones who will see things going wrong, and then they should respond, because many times they say, "Hizo ni vitu za mama," and leave it. But they must respond, they must find a way to get help from other people who either gone through similar situations or other women, or come to the hospital.
And come to them. And I'm going to allow you to say that as we close.
You see, the man is the one who's in a setup where the man and the woman are living together.
Yes.
They are the ones who know this person during the pregnancy, right?
Yes.
They know, she used to like chips at 2
You
know,
cravings.
you know those small things and nitty-gritties about this lady before she gave birth. Now she's given birth, and you're noticing a change. You see? So you will be the first person to see, all of a sudden, she's chatty, but she's extra chatty. Or all of a sudden, this lady is so quiet. When the baby cries at night, she doesn't pick the baby. Is this normal? So he will be present, he will notice, and then he will call for help. So it's good for them to be on the lookout. They are our people, our ambassadors.
They should look for help.
they should also have. I know we're going to have this conversation again. We'll have a part B of this conversation. This time was so short, for this, and I want this, trio to come back, especially on the psychosis, which most people say, remember hospitali ishioko. We're looking at after they're discharged, how do we treat them? When they're in there, how many visitations? How do we treat the child when they're over there? So that is going to need more time. Dr. Linda, please create time to come back. And Dr. Gaku and Dr. Macau for this conversation again. It's very critical. Remember, it's the Mental Awareness Month, May, and mothers are not left out, neither are their spouses and their communities. Thank you very much for creating time. The smiles tell it all. I'll take a short breather. This has been the Healthy Inside Out. Remember, you can always reach them. And if you want to reach either of these doctors, Look Up TV social media just awaits your questions, and we will connect you directly to whichever doctor you wish to talk to. The hotlines, they will give you their numbers and their Twitter handles tagged right at the bottom of the screen. Do not shy away. We'll be right back.
Are you looking to turn your passion to purpose? Vera Beauty and Fashion College now brings you online classes at the comfort of your home. We are a TVET-approved institution with over 20 years experience in training competency-based courses in fashion design and creative arts, cosmetology, hairdressing, beauty therapy, interior design in soft furnishings, event decoration and flower arrangement, hospitality and catering, and training of trainers. To enroll, call us today on 0704 577 577 or visit our website at www.verabeautycollege.com. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a center of excellence.
Help me identify a beautiful womb. I never came across one till I got to Vera.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly one-year installments plan.
There is starring possibility.
Welcome to Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we will be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Look Up Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707.
is the end of the morning drift this very morning. I've had the best of my times. Usually Thursday it is for me, just having a glimpse of what health is all about, learning something new every single day with the guests on set. It's always been my pleasure. And of course, I like that you guys were following closely on social media. So many thanks, Asanteni Sana, for being part of the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag The Morning Drift. Arrive Alive was very, very awakening as well. Many thanks to Mr. Martin for creating time to be here very early for those road safety conversations. Not forgetting on the B conversation again, pushing for nature-based solutions to our day-to-day problems. We Don't Have Time was the organization that graced the studios today. You want to follow them on social media to get to know what the project will be in a few weeks. Be part of it. And of course, let us revive the environment together, lest Mother Nature starts to retaliate even strongly, even more strongly. All right, guys, that's how silly Anki can be when the show is about to end. But I just want to say thank you for enjoying the show with me. Let's do this again tomorrow. It's going to be lit. It's Friday. Amazing guests coming in. Sanachat will be very educative, edutaining, and also Nkusere Reka, a surprise guest coming to you tomorrow. Don't forget to DM me at Anki Doris Sombat on Facebook, at Doris Anki on Twitter, and also Look Up TV. Just keep DMing us on who you want to see on set. The Aspirant Forum will be coming back, so who is your favorite aspirant? Remember, we do not make this content, but you do. Well, my name is Anki Doris Sombat, and as I conclude, I want to remind you that you are the best version of yourself. If you are not there yet, you can always discover and rediscover yourself. But mental harmony is where it starts from. You have to glow in the inside as well. We might not see you glow in the inside, but we can tell on the outside. So how about the healthy inside out of your version also worked on? Well, choice is still left on you, people. Until tomorrow, adios, amigos, and mwah, I love you all.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait